I would like to call the Brimfield Township Board of Zoning Appeals Wednesday, January 20th, 2021 to order. We could have a roll call, please.
Okay. Bruce Nippenberg,
Here.
Scott Etling,
Here.
Vince Bordacco, Ed Shooty,
Here.
Sean Phillips,
Here.
Trimmer,
There you go.
and Clayton Popick.
Here.
Also present, we have Michael Ladd, Economic Development Director and Zoning Inspector, myself, Zoning Secretary Lauren Kaufman, Brian Gardner, Brimfield Township IT Director, and Mark Gadetti, Township Legal Counsel.
Thank you. We have, like I said, we have an agenda. Next thing on it would be the approval for the minutes for December. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes for the month of December.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the December meeting. All those, I guess we need a roll call vote.
Okay. Bruce Nippenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
Sean Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
We have an agenda. The only thing I believe missing would be election of officers this evening. Unless there's any objections, I would recommend we do that during good of the order.
Agreed.
Alrighty. Then I need a motion about our agenda.
I make a motion that we accept the agenda for tonight. Sorry.
I was gonna make a motion to amend the agenda and put Mr. Hirschberger up front, so he doesn't have to wait through all of the sheet stuff, out of respect for the one variance. And I believe that Wander only has one or two, or no, just Hirschberger, sorry.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion to move Mr. Hirschberger's application to the top. Do we have a second? Okay, no second?
I'll second it, Bruce. You hear me?
Yeah, I heard you. Okay, we have a motion and a second to move Mr. Hirschberger's application to the top. Do we have any objections? Okay, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Bruce Nippenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
Sean Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
We have an amended agenda. Do we have a motion regarding it?
Make a motion to accept the amended agenda.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If we could please have a roll call vote.
Bruce Nippenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
Sean Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
We have an agenda. At this time, I would like to swear in anyone who's going to be speaking this evening. I will read the oath and then the secretary will call out, as she calls out your name, please answer in the affirmative if you're going to speak tonight. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before this board is to the best of your knowledge and accurate and truthful presentation of the facts?
I do.
Ryan Balco,
I'm sorry. What? What was that?
Okay, we're doing a swearing in of anybody who's going to speak this evening.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were on the other agenda item.
I was just wanting to cover everybody at once, please.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Henry Founds,
I do.
Bruce Rinker,
I do. I'm an officer of the court.
Roger Graham,
I do.
Eric Smith,
I do.
Tom Weiss,
I do.
Bruce Blonder,
I do.
and Richard Hirschberger.
It's Rick, and yes, I affirm.
I believe that's everyone.
The first item on the agenda will be the application of Mr. Hirschberger. It's a request for variance. Variance, restructure existing buildings, remove back 2 feet of the building as shown. Corner of existing building is 18 inches over the property line. Restructure building would be 6 inches inside the line. Mr. Hirschberger, if you'd like to tell us exactly what's going on. I mean, I think that's pretty explanatory, but I don't see the distance of the variance.
The distance of the variance, I was looking for a variance of, well, it would be, instead of 5 feet, it would be 6 inches. Basically, I would remove the back, well, the back truss. The back truss and the 2 feet in front of that back truss would be removed from the building. That initially would put a wall up, of course, and 2 feet in from the back of the building. And then we would basically cut off the back of the building. So everything would then be on this property.
So you're just going to shorten the building. You're not going to try to move it.
Correct. I looked into, I had several bids for moving it. It was, by the time it was all said and done, it was so pricey that it was not, I couldn't feasibly do it. It was up and near the 25,000 when I was up. It's just not worth moving the building that would cost me. I could build the building again for that.
So you're looking for a 4.5 foot variance.
Yes, sir. I originally, I actually had somebody come in to tear it down because that's where I was going to go, get a quote for. And he said, hey, I think I can, what if I just cut off 2 feet of the back of it? He said, my company can do that, which is why I decided not to just completely rip it down. I'd like to save the building because that's where my tractor is and a whole bunch of equipment in there.
Okay.
Right now, if I cut it down those 2 feet, I can just fit my tractor inside with the front load bar on it and get the door closed. So.
Mr. Ladd, is that going to be enough, the 4.5 feet?
It's enough to keep him on his property. This was an original complaint from the neighbor. I don't know if you remember Mr. Hirschberger coming in before the BZA. He tried a couple different things here at the board and then went back to the drawing board, and this is his best option right now to get it off of the neighbor's property.
It was earlier last year, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
And did we change the setback to 5 feet as of yet? Okay.
We did. Yep.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from the board?
I don't know. Can they hear you?
Any,
Yeah, I'm sure they could hear.
oh, there's Vince.
Hello.
I can hear you. Don't see you. Hey, we made you. We made you the chief in charge because you weren't here.
I'm here. I said.
All right. So, if without any other comments, do we have a motion regarding the 4.5-foot variance?
Make a motion that we grant the 4.5-foot variance for the existing building.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to grant a 4.5-foot variance for the purpose of removing the back part of the building to get it off the property line. All those in favor, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Bruce Steffenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Vince Brodacco,
Yes.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
John Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Potts.
Yes.
Okay, you have your variance. Does he need
Thank you.
to?
And I want to also say I appreciate being moved up on the agenda very much. So,
All right, you're welcome.
and have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
All right.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda, the applicant is Sheets Incorporated. Conditional use request. Applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to operate a gasoline service station within the district. Does the zoning inspector have anything to comment on it yet? Or you want to hold yours?
I mean, that's fine. I can speak now as well. We did receive a letter from their engineer who met with ODOT, and ODOT is willing to approve the signal at the developer's cost. And it's got to be sunk with, with the I-76 interchange. So it's got to go hand in hand with that. But that's after this gets, if this gets approved and gets built, then the light would proceed. But that's the only news I have on it.
Okay, does anybody on the board have any comments before we go to the applicant? All righty, who's speaking first?
Well, if I may, good evening, everyone. Bruce Rinker, and I think you recall, I and my firm, Answer Gavin, were land use counsel for Sheets. Also on tonight, and I think you've seen the names, Ryan Balco. He's our project manager, handles the engineering permitting. H.C. Phones, who's the real estate site selector. And then Eric Smith, who is the traffic engineer from Prime AE. If you recall, primary reason that we had asked to continue, and I think the board saw it as well, was to try to pin down this issue with ODOT. And if the board will give me a little bit of leeway, we'll come back to that issue, just sort of to reorient everyone, because it's been a while. You all know where this site is, so I don't need to tell you that, but it's a little over 3.5 acres. Sheets is prepared to invest about $5 million in this project. Figures that there'll be roughly 3 dozen jobs, half and half, full-time, part-time jobs. And the store component with the drive-through is one, the drive-through component's part of the conditional use. But if I may, what I'd like to do first is just kind of take a quick look at the variances. These are area variances. And then I want to turn to what I think clearly has been the thrust of just about everyone's concerns from officials and residents alike involving the use itself. But it bears looking at both the site plan, and Ryan, I don't know if that's something you can pull up to show the relationship of buildings and structures on the site. The 5 area variances, and you all are familiar with what the technical requirements of the code. but I'm going to go through them pretty quickly and would suggest, as we've indicated before, none of them is a particularly substantial variance request when you consider the overall site geometry. Now, the first one, there's a 100-foot setback that's required from 43. Interestingly, there is a contradiction in the code in another provision which says that setback only needs to be 30 feet. Sheets is placing the canopy as a structure 70 feet back from the right-of-way. And part of the reason for that is essentially is to provide sufficient traffic movements, drive aisles, so that the on-site and the ingress and egress for the site can be managed very easily so that the sight lines are good, it's safe, and it's efficient both for cars, vehicles, and for pedestrians. But the fact remains that what Sheets has been trying to do is focus the fuel pumps on 43. That's where you capture the drive-by traffic. And Eric Smith can follow up on it, but essentially uses like this are looking at well over the majority of the existing traffic, sometimes as much as 75% existing traffic to draw to the site. So the canopies out front make sense. The implicit benefit, though, is that the canopies are away from the school and they're on the busy right-of-way. The store itself, with the parking field and the overall building envelope, is compliant. There is, however, the third variance request involves the 12 parking spaces on the northwest portion of the site that front on Falcon Drive. And I believe the record would show that we've indicated in the past that those are predominantly going to be used by employees, but Sheets' experience with these facilities, kind of the sweet spot is around 45, 46 parking spaces. So these are spaces that we know from a business standpoint are functional. But again, from an area variance perspective, when you look at the setback from Falcon, when you look at the orientation, really much closer to the 40, I don't think those are particularly significant, pose any major problem. The canopy height, the variance request there is a little more over 3 feet. And here again, this is a safety and function aspect. So the large trucks can get under there when they service the site. It's a pretty standard height. And we showed you the renderings before, the 3D renderings with the new canopy that Sheets has. And I think by any fair measure, it's attractive, it's not unsightly. And again, the canopy fronts on 43. It's away from the school. The architectural and design, all the components are consistent with the same materials and design for the store, even the trash enclosure. In other words, all elements of construction are really high quality and consistent, and the canopy would be no different. So that little more than 3 foot height variance, again, we don't think is substantial. Your code has an unusual provision that looks for perimeter fencing around the entire site. Again, I would think anyone would agree that's pretty unusual. As it is, this site has a mature row of trees along the east boundary with the school. I remember one comment was the effect that it would be pretty hard for someone who wanted to walk across Falcon if they wanted to cut through that particular area. On the south side, where we have the order point for the drive-through, and remember that's a touchpad. One of the things that the school was concerned about would be a nuisance aspect with noise. And I think we allayed any concerns there that, except unless someone has a particular emergency or a particular question, the standard operating procedure for that is simply to use a touchpad. But there are utilities running along that south area. We would look for a combination, I think, of some fencing and some other landscaping treatments there. But other than the south and the east side, fencing along the north and the frontage on 43, we'd suggest really serves no real useful purpose. And it's from a function and an overall utility standpoint, that's the reason we've asked for a variance there. And again, Ryan can probably answer a little bit more of the technical details, but that's the gist of it for that particular variance. And then finally, the signage package requires a variance. Again, we would recommend that members look at the renderings, the elevations that have been provided. It's not garish, it's not over the top, it's pretty straightforward, rather minimal signage, but it's a variance request that we have to make. So those are the 5 area variances. We saw in the letter that was provided by President Porter from the school board, some of the feedback he got from his residents or his constituency. There was some question about why are there so many variances? And I think that by any fair objective measure, we just don't think that they're significant, and we would hope you would agree. So I want to turn to another point, really kind of how he ended his letter. He listed a number of concerns. We think that many of them have been answered. Eric Smith can certainly answer some of the traffic issues. We've answered questions about safety. We had some of our safety personnel on hand. And I would like to think that all board members would agree that this is a site that's very well set up. Sheets, in its experience, has not had the kind of fears and concerns people may have for safety. And I think if you dial in a little bit closer to the use, because that's what has people wrought up, excited, concerned. This particular use, if you were to look at only the convenience store itself, now the drive-through component is a conditional use, but the convenience store itself, which is the predominant, not only structure, but the function of the site, that would be permitted in the town center district. And Mr. Porter wanted everyone to step back, and we kind of agree too. We're trying to get away from a more visceral reaction, and we're asking the board to look at a more objective view of the code. And I'd like to refer you to the town center district. Note, for example, that this is the first property in the district as you head south from the interstate. If you were north of Falcon Drive, we wouldn't be having this kind of discussion. But if we look at this site, it's the fuel service component alone that has everyone's attention. Now, the permitted uses in this mixed use, a compact mixed use purpose is what the town center zoning looks to. And I'm reading from section 30802, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, but the first section of permitted uses deals with residential uses. And it lists everything from single family detached all the way up to apartments, multifamily and apartments. There is a commercial component. It lists a number of retail uses, banks that have the ATMs and other similar facilities. Restaurants are included. You could have a Chipotle there. The Skipper Group was looking at, I think it was a Dunkin' Donuts at one time. Because this is a 3.5+ acre site, my understanding from what Mr. Weesey said was they'd probably be looking at 3 different uses. They couldn't build it on spec, but not unusual for that type of combination. You might see a CVS pharmacy, that would be a permitted use. The Chipotle, you could have a Starbucks. You might have a Verizon store. That's also one of the retail uses that it identified as an electronic shop. Personal services, it lists barbershops, beauty salons. I would think that a tattoo parlor could be included. For retail, you could have a Dollar General in addition to a CVS or a drug mart. Theaters, places of assembly. Any combination of those permitted uses is also identified. And then we get to the conditional uses. And as you all know, there are both general and specific requirements, but essentially conditional use permits are looking to minimizing nuisance factors with the site. But again, what would be treated as presumed permissive if it meets the conditions, bars, taverns, and nightclubs. These are liquor control issues that are permitted through the state of Ohio. Clinics, mental health clinics would be allowed. I would venture to say that under federal law, a group home or a halfway house, a treatment facility would qualify as something that would be conditionally permitted. And I could go through the list further, and I don't want to belabor it, but a lot of this we submit is perception, people's preconceptions. It appears to me that there is a general consensus. We just don't want a gas station in front of us. But the functionality of the overall site, part of it is absolutely permitted and the rest of it is consistent. I think it's the perception that drives the reality. And then the final point, and I would defer then both to Ryan and to Eric Smith, we tried to get, and we didn't want to continue the meeting to get the written report from ODOT. So we really have to rely on Mr. Smith's dialogue, his communication with ODOT. And I think his letter pretty well spelled it out. You all know better than we what the traffic patterns have been like there pre-COVID or otherwise. I think anecdotally, it isn't a stretch to say that if you were in the vicinity and a semi-tractor trailer had to pull out from, say, the McDonald's and do a left turn to go back to the interstate with the blinking light that you have at Falcon Drive now, that can be very disruptive to traffic. This site is designed to operate very efficiently. And bottom line for Sheetz is that Sheetz does not go here unless there is a light. So as much as it's been important to us and it's been critical to have that light, a timed light, as Mr. Smith has kind of identified in the report. Mr. Ladd pointed out this has to be synced with the interstate, and ODOT will have final say on that. But unless you have this development, and if it's not Sheetz, it's going to be some other type of a retail use. It may be something residential. But if you look at your zoning resolution objectively and look at what is allowable and arguably not only permitted, but even with conditional uses, we're just asking you to recognize this particular use is not problematic. It functions well. And if anything, having a timed traffic signal there can only improve existing traffic conditions. It's a $5 million investment. It brings jobs. Sheetz has been hugely successful across 6 different states. Some of you know from your own experience, you've been to Sheetz sites. They're well maintained. They're well designed. They provide services and amenities that fit into this mixed use environment. We think that the fears that people have been expressing are really unfounded, and we're asking you to give us that consideration. And with that, I'll leave it. I think that if you have specific questions, either for Ryan or for Eric Smith, they should be able to respond. And thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
Okay. We have, aside from the letter that you mentioned from the school board, we actually a member, not the entire board. And again, we had a letter from one of our trustees, also opposed. We had approximately 80 letters from the community opposed, and I think there were 4 in favor.
I understand.
Yes, because I want to have a motion to get these entered into the record as well.
Okay.
Then there was the police chief had some, I believe he had a conversation with your safety director and had some concerns that may or may not have been completely resolved. And then the fire chief also had sent in a letter as well. So if I could get a motion on the letter, all of the letters, if they would be entered into the record.
Motion that we enter the letters that we received into the record.
We entered some, okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second to enter all of the letters into the record. We have a roll call vote, please.
Bruce Nippenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Vince Brodacco,
Yes.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
and Kirkpatrick.
Okay, do we have any questions from the board or other comments?
Well, one of the comments that I'll make is that, you know, the traffic pattern is a concern, obviously. But the bigger thing for me is that it isn't, I forget how our trustee put it, that it's not conducive with the overall scheme of the township. You know, I understand that what you're saying is that any business can go in there, but this business in particular, while, you know, it'd be welcome, it just seems like on this particular property, it's more of a, looking for a word, it's not conducive to the, basically to the downtown area in Brimfield. That's my comment.
Do we have any other comments from any of the board or any questions?
Yeah, if I could, just to speak on that, you know, it comes up a lot that, you know, the idea of a gas station, you know, self-serve fueling station, as a use. You know, if you look at the overall package of of a sheet store, you know, I would argue that it doesn't fall completely within the confines of, you know, the typical idea of what a gas station is. You know, we completely understand that, you know, an idea was conceived that the town center district might not have a gas station use within that district. We can see where the existing Circle K falls within the general parameters of what that general idea is. You know, we always sell ourselves on we are a convenience store. We have the restaurant use with the drive-through, and you know, we sell gas as an amenity to our customers, but to roll us into the general consensus of gas stations, I think is, you know, it's not too far of a stretch to see that, you know, we're a different end user than your standard gas station. You know, the traffic concerns that were brought up earlier, we do have Eric Smith on the phone. If there's any particular questions that any of the board members want to ask in regards to the traffic study, he's done some analysis that I believe would potentially show that a mix of other retail users, multiple retail users, would actually generate more traffic than we are as a sheet store that takes up the entire property. You know, I believe you'd also be able to speak on the fact that this traffic signal installation will create a much overall safer condition to the 43 corridor, and specifically that intersection at Falcon Drive. You know, there's a comment about the police chief's conversation with Kathy Potter. Kathy is on the phone. If there's any concerns about how we train employees, you know, to deal with situations that anybody's concerned about, she can speak on that matter. She can speak on our track record. We have over 600 stores, and I believe she can really dive into the specifics of how safe our stores are, and how we train our employees for unique situations that might arise, that everybody's concerned about. And I guess just in closing, you know, I drove out to our store in Kent yesterday, and Bruce sort of mentioned this. I grabbed some food at the McDonald's catty corner to this site, and I sat there for about 15 minutes and I watched semis exit the Speedway fueling station on the west side of 43 there. And I watched as trucks pulled out and made a left onto 43. And all 3 times that I saw a semi leave, vehicles traveling both north and south on 43, they had to slow down to allow these trucks to pull out of there because it's not a signalized intersection. And you know, a semi trying to go full speed at a complete halt, you know, it's not a fluid motion. So I would just ask the board members to realize, you know, take a second to, we understand all the concerns, safety. We have a proven track record that I think you guys would all feel comfortable with. And I think the focus needs to be on, you know, the actual facts of, you know, there's a deficiency at this intersection that this Sheetz gas station going in will be able to alleviate, and you know, not so much focus on you know, the hypotheticals of what might happen from a safety standpoint, which you know, to this date, we've never been provided any information for us to think otherwise, that, you know, we're providing a safe operation.
Okay. Well, my personal opinion on it, I don't necessarily care for the gas station being there, and the fact that there are a number of complaints regarding the fact that it's the town center and they were never intended to have a gas station there. I also am not comfortable with the fact that it will be an alcohol outlet, and I understand that there's a possibility of something else being there that would sell alcohol, and again, because of the location of the elementary school. Those are my comments at this point. I don't know that I've ever really been, I understand that the safety concerns and the traffic light, but that was not probably my greatest, that's not what I was thinking about most of the time when I was thinking that I'm not really in favor of it. But if we have any other opinions from the board, then we'll open it up for any other statements before.
I'll chime in, Bruce. With all due
Okay, go ahead.
With all due respect to the traffic light, which seems to be quite a hang up, it feels like Sheetz is trying to hamstring us into thinking, well, you need it there, so we got it for you. So now this is just great. It should have no bearing on the decision whether it goes there or not. With that, as far as I'm concerned, with the Sheetz. Sure, we'd all like a light there, but I'm not going to approve it just because Sheetz says we got it approved for you. And that's where I'm coming from. That upsets me to no end that's being pushed so hard.
Okay, do we have any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, I would give the applicant any additional information you'd like to submit.
Well, if I can, and I'll be very brief, but especially the last comment, our goal was not to create some resentment. And I certainly apologize if that's the implication. I think we understood that this traffic situation was important to everyone. My point in this discussion was saying, even if you assume you have no fuel pumps at all, look at the store use itself. Any retail use that's coming to this site, it's going to generate traffic. It's going to create a change in the front yard of the school. And in all likelihood, at some point, whoever comes in is going to bring a traffic light. So it's not like the traffic light is unique to Sheetz, and we certainly did not want to imply that. We did want to say, though, that from our standpoint, having that traffic light really is critical. All my point is trying to show is that when you look at your zoning resolution for the town center district, regardless of what aspirational aspects many people have had, and I think that's been the thrust of a lot of this discussion, because they just didn't envision fuel pumps and the gas station use. But in all other respects, if you look at the activity, the functionality, the quote unquote mixed use purpose of the district, I think it's fair to say that this fits in. We can't make you feel differently. We're just trying to point to the provisions that you have in your zoning resolution that by analogy, we think are logical counterparts, especially when one looks at the kinds of retail uses alone that your code permits. And that's the only thing I wanted to add. So thank you.
Thank you. So my only other point, I guess, would be that I know it's in the book that uses not covered come before this board, but as been stated by the applicant, it is adjacent to an area where this could go. And it might not have been a better solution to go through the zoning board, which of course then would have led up through the trustees to approve it. But I would like to, if there's no other comments, call the question. We have a motion. Any motion at all?
Sorry, I didn't find my mute button. I make a motion that we deny the conditional use permit.
We have a motion to deny and a second. If we could please have a roll call vote.
I'll second it.
Oh, okay. I think Ed already seconded.
Bruce Nippenberg,
Deny.
Scott Etling,
Deny.
Vince Bordacco,
Deny.
Ed Shooty,
Deny.
John Phillips,
Deny.
and Clayton Popick.
Deny, sorry.
I'm assuming we're going to have to vote on the remainder of the variances in the same way, or you want to withdraw your variances?
Well, I guess I can defer to Mr. Ladd, but I would presume that given the fact that the use itself is denied, then the variances become an academic issue. I don't think you need to vote on them.
I don't think so either, but since they're on the agenda and they're an item that was paid for, I'd like to see a vote for each one, and that way it goes for the record.
Fair enough.
All right.
Do we do them as a group or do we need to run item by item?
We can run through real quick, one at a time. The first variance is for the applicant is requesting a 30-foot setback variance for the location. We have a motion.
Make a motion that we deny.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Could we have a roll call, please?
Bruce Nippenberg,
Deny.
Scott Etling,
Deny.
Vince Bordacco,
Deny.
Ed Shooty,
And
John Phillips,
Deny.
and Clayton Popick.
Deny.
Yeah, next one is variance request. Applicant is requesting a 3-foot, 3 1/4 inch variance to the height of the fuel service canopy. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to,
Go ahead.
Okay, we have a motion, Mr. Shudy. We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to deny. Roll call vote, please.
Bruce Sniffenberg,
Deny.
Scott Etling,
Aye.
Vince Brodacco,
Deny.
Ed Shooty,
Aye.
Sean Phillips,
Deny.
and Clayton Popick.
Deny.
Next variance applicant is requesting a variance to allow 12 parking spaces along the north edge of the parking field facing Falcon Drive. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to deny.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to deny. Roll call vote, please.
Bruce Sniffenberg,
Deny.
Scott Etling,
Deny.
Vince Brodacco,
Deny.
Ed Shooty,
Deny.
Sean Phillips,
Deny.
and Clayton Popick.
Deny.
Application is requesting limited fencing and alternative screening and landscaping. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to deny. Have a roll call vote, please.
Bruce Sniffenberg,
Deny.
Scott Etling,
Deny.
Vince Brodacco,
Deny.
Ed Shooty,
Aye.
Sean Phillips,
Deny.
and Clayton Popick.
Deny.
Variance application is requesting to erect one monument sign, their logo on the canopy, and 3 logo wall signs.
I make a motion to deny.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to deny. Roll call vote, please.
Bruce Sniffenberg,
Deny.
Scott Etling,
Deny.
Vince Brodacco,
Deny.
Ed Shooty,
Aye.
Sean Phillips,
Deny.
and Clayton Popick.
Deny.
I believe that is all of the Sheets applications. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we're sorry for the outcome, but appreciate your attention. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, our next is a zoning conditional use application. The applicant, Blonder Development Company. Conditional use request, applicant is requesting conditional use permit to change from a condominium to a 12 single-family detached home, PDR. So if we, is Mr. Blonder or a representative here?
Yes,
Okay, if you would please, okay, if you'd like to explain what you want.
all right.
What's going on?
Actually, this is a renewal of a variance that was approved, I think it was last year or the year before. And
Okay.
because of COVID and redoing the drawings to widen the street to county standards, we weren't able to complete the project last year, and what we would like to redo it this year, we would like to get going this year. The first variance was, it was originally zoned single-family home condominium. It would just be changed to single-family home. So there's basically no difference from what it was before. The banks will no longer lend to single-family home condominium.
Oh, okay.
The second one was a renew. Should I go on to the three?
Oh, well, we can look at this one first. So basically the, all right, let me, So this is going to be basically exactly what it was going to be and originally.
This is exactly what was approved. It was what was approved in 2006 and reapproved a year and a half, 2 years ago. Yes.
Only you're just calling it something different. Okay, Mr. Ladd?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So the only difference is some of the engineering, he's got further drawings than he did the last time he was approved. As we went through those drawings with Portage County Engineers Office, it prompted some of the variances that you see below that, as well as the flag-shaped lot. But that should have, he should have everything in there as of now. And if there would be more later on as the houses come, then he would have to grant, get variances on that if they didn't meet the standards.
So as of right now, though, all of the building envelopes fit into our zoning? Or are we still waiting for plans?
I mean, everything, we have the plans. They should be up online right now. It should be, everything should meet okay. The biggest thing is there's, as we were going through with the engineers, it prompted these other variances. And then we were looking at these variances, I'm like, well, it expired, the approval that you got from BZA last time. So we have to reapprove the conditional use and then go for variances.
Yeah,
Right.
the main thing was to widen the road to by 10 feet to go to county standards. And it was originally designed to be able to go to the county standard. All the utilities are already in back in 2006, and they're already set back far enough into each property.
And if you don't remember the last time it was approved, the neighbors were in, the people that bought the first house on this street, is you're going off of Ranfield Road.
Right.
Those neighbors were here and they were very concerned last time about the architectural features of the home, that they were going to be consistent with what they have, and it wasn't going to be a lesser value of a home. And I think this board approved it, with those standards in mind.
Yeah, the homes will all be, they won't be the exact same style as the first home, but they will be in similar context. They might be more modern or more Victorian or different styles, but they all have a minimum of 2,400 square feet. They have a certain amount of stone that has to be on them. These are already in the association's architectural rule book for this area.
Okay.
We're by the city's formula, we can actually put 30 homes in this property, on this property. We're only putting 12. So we're not packing them in like Ryan does. We're giving each home at least a half acre to an acre.
Okay. And the architectural plans, are they available to the zoning inspector?
For each home?
Well, not for each home, but I guess the standards that you're referring to.
They're on file with the county.
Okay.
They've been on file since 2006. In the application, I think there's a last page of the application will show you a drawing of the first home. It's 3,100 square feet. And the minimum is 2,400 square feet. So these will be fairly substantial tax revenue for the city and the county and the school board.
I still can't believe it was a year and a half.
I don't actually see the application.
Time flies. Has there been any communication or correspondence in regards from am I breaking up? Sorry.
You're breaking up.
Has there been anything from has there been anything from any correspondence from any of the neighbors or anything given to the office on this?
No.
Ryan guy? No, nothing.
Nothing.
Now, these exact plans were submitted back in 2006. And because of the recession, I went on to a different development in Rootstown and did the homes there. And now I'm coming back to this one. We only had one home put up in this one at the time. But we'd like to get this one going.
Right. I don't actually see the application. What's the name of it? Do we have it?
Under Blonder Development Company.
Yeah, I have a general, Oakwood General and Oakwood Plat, but those are just, there's nothing as far as the application and the drawings that you're talking about.
I don't know if you can see that. No,
Yeah.
yeah, this was.
I don't see the application
It should
either.
be, okay, it should be in there, but it's, I know Mike had everything, but this is what I sent down to him back in December, so.
Lauren, is it possible to get it up on the screen?
Yeah, I'm just looking for it. I'm not really sure where it went, so just give me a second.
Okay, sure.
And the Jeopardy theme might be playing it right now.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is when we went through with the Portage County engineers and they have revised their subdivision regulations as well. So they're going to be a little bit more strict and the amount of money going down, the amount of escrow money going, as well as inspections on the properties have all changed this year. So the homes that we had in the last time, in the last approval, were very nice. I think the square footage was the same. Basically, the book is going at 1,200 square foot for a house in our book, and he's going 2,400, which is a good size. But I'd like to see the road get widened. That is obviously a hazard right now, is the way it exists. I don't know how that, was constructed back then, but you can only get one car down that street as it is right now.
It's originally supposed to be a private drive.
Okay.
And now we can't. Now we have to bring it up to county standards, which is what we're doing.
Right.
It's basically what we've been trying to do for the last year.
Right.
We have the drawings for it, and the county's kind of approved it, but they need to get these variances to make sure you've approved the variances before we can go back to the county.
Correct.
Because they would like to get this started by spring, and we would like to also.
So the road will be up to county standards before the project begins. Okay.
Right. It's 2 lanes, but they're very tight. But all the sewer system is in, and there's actually people on Ranfield Road also using the sewer system now, which we pulled from about 2 blocks away. We also pulled water line from 2 blocks away. And so there's already water, all the utilities are in.
The street will be curb, gutter,
It'll be whatever the county standard gutter.
whatever okay. Are we putting in sidewalks?
Yeah, each builder will put in sidewalks when they complete each home.
So you'll have separate builders?
Yes.
Okay.
Bruce, is this a conditional use permit or is this a renewal?
The first 3 are basically renewals, Mike. Yeah,
The use is changing.
No, the variances aren't, the conditional use expired, so everything went away with the conditional use.
So there's no renewal, it's all new.
The conditional use is a renewal, but the variances you'd be considering as new.
yeah, there are 2 additional variances that the county requires.
Yes, I only see the flag lot variance.
There's the flag lot variance, and there's also, I think the county requires a 50-foot buffer around a PRD, and we have 3 homes. 2 get clipped slightly by the 50-foot variance, and 1 it goes through about half the home, half or a third of the home. But what we're trying to do is keep the homes so they're all lined up with the same frontage from the street. So it looks better. So not, some aren't all the way up by the street, some aren't all the way back, and just back and forth. We're trying to make this look a lot nicer.
Right, okay.
Oh, I was just uploading it. If I just refresh the site, it'll be up there. Just give me a second.
Okay. She's got it now. She's just putting it on.
Sorry about that. The home model is now up, and then in just a second, all of the variants applications will be up. I'm not really sure where they went, so sorry about that.
I see the new, like the home spec and then
Okay.
the
And then
location
they
plan.
both should be up now.
Say it again?
So they both should be up now. There should be one more underneath the homes one, and that's all of the variance requests.
You just have to refresh your screen.
Yeah, just refresh it.
I
I
see it.
refreshed too quick. I got one, but not the other.
Pardon?
Refresh it again. It popped up at the bottom.
Okay, so the one variance are three separate lots. Are these, the application shows three separate applications.
Those are the ones that would be crossing the buffer line slightly.
Okay, so the first application would be, I guess, a conditionally permitted use of 12 single-family detached homes as part of a PRD. So it's something that's been, it was originally approved as condominiums, but we can no longer do condominiums. We're going to do single-family homes.
Right.
And all of those are still on record, the original application.
For the,
So in other words, the original application indicated the types of homes, the everything with the original application. The only real difference is they were going to be the same buildings. They were just going to be.
The only difference is that we're widening the road 10 feet, putting a cul-de-sac at the end of the road. The shape of the road is virtually identical. Each house is basically right where it was on the original drawings. The only thing we did, there's a pond at the end of the drive that was doubled in size. And the EPA has looked at that and they said it's more than enough as far as stormwater. That's the only change in the whole development.
We have all of the records from the original development on file.
We do.
Okay. All right, do we have any other questions or comments or? Okay, I would ask then that first motion would be to, I don't know if it's necessary, but make the original application with all of the records part of this one.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the additional use application from condos, single-family homes, as reflected, and as reflected, to keep as reflected in the original approval with all the guidelines we set forth.
We have a motion and a second. We have a roll call vote, please.
Bruce Steffenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Vince Brodacco,
Yes.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
Sean Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
We have another conditional permit to change the PRD from 20 acres to 8.225 acres.
Okay.
Was this part of the original or this is new
It
because
is.
of the,
This is this is the same as the original, which was approved last year.
okay. Do we have a motion on this?
I will make a motion that we request the conditional use permit to change the PRD from 20 acres to, is that 8?
I'll second that.
8.2257 acres.
That's it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have a roll call, please.
Bruce Steffenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Vince Brodacco,
Yes.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
Sean Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
8.2257 acres.
It's actually, there's a half acre in addition, which is the first home, which was already built, which is kind of taken out as, but will be part of this.
He issued us rulers as part of the BZA, so we'll be out there.
Okay.
Mhm.
If I can sell you a lot, I'd be happy.
Other conditional use, change open space from 20% to 6%. Again, this is something that was previously approved.
Yes, it was approved also last year. It actually is going to come up to about 8% on open space. After the drawings we just received, almost 8%. If you don't include the roadway, it's actually about 10%. So.
What would you like on your application?
Well,
I'd
It
like
says
to keep,
6%, so.
yeah, I'd like to keep it the same.
yeah,
So
it'll
we'll
probably be.
leave it at that. Okay. So it's 6%, but there
Might need a
may be a little extra.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the open space from 20 to 6%.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the open space. Roll call vote, please.
Bruce Steffenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Vince Brodacco,
Yes.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
Sean Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
All right, so I believe now we're looking at our variances. The first one is request that home on lot 7 encroach over the 50-foot buffer as per map attached. So the variance is going to be how many feet, do we know? How much is the encroachment?
The first house, it's like about 6 feet by 6 feet. Or 8 by 8. I mean, it's just a small corner of the house that gets cut off by the 50-foot buffer. There was also another conditional use variance that was passed last year that's applied for also here, so.
Oh, I'm just taking them in order here.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, there's one house that gets cut in half by the 50-foot buffer, but it's the lot next to it is the very back of another lot, so it's still going to be between 150, 200 feet from the house on that lot.
So, I mean, normally we go with a variance a certain number of feet, like a 10-foot variance giving you, in other words, you'd be 40 feet from the boundary.
Right.
Well,
This is,
from the boundary, there's the, it's more than the minimum, but this is the buffer. There's a 50-foot buffer inside the boundary.
Right. So is this wording correct then?
yes,
For the
it's on
variance?
yes, it's for lot number 10.
Well, I'm looking at 7, I think was the first one to pop up.
Oh, I'm
The-
sorry.
The
I'm sorry.
first one is well within the side, the frontage on the side that needs to be on there.
Okay, so we have a variance request for lot 7 to encroach over the 50-foot buffer. It's going to be what, about a 10-foot encroachment, something of that nature?
It's about, yeah. It's
Okay,
not even, but yes.
okay. We have a motion, please.
I make a motion that we accept the variance on lot 7 to allow the encroachment onto the 50-foot buffer.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have a roll call vote, please.
Stephenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Here.
Vince
Yes.
Bradako,
Please stop for a minute here.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
Sean Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
Next one is a request that the home on lot 10 encroach over the 50-foot buffer as per the map attached. You say this one's about half the house?
Actually, that one's about maybe a third of the house.
Okay,
And the one, 11, I think, is about half the house, but they're still well within the sidelines of what are required.
Yeah, we
okay.
have rulers.
Alrighty. We have a
I
motion.
don't have that
Go
map
with
with
those
me, I'm
rules.
sorry.
Make a motion that we accept the variance on lot 10 to encroach over the 50-foot buffer. By a third of the house? I don't know.
Wait a minute. Lot 10 is, hold on 1 second here. The home on lot 10, we want to just push it back so it's even with the home on lot 9. And the only way to do that is about a quarter of the house is going to be over the 50-foot buffer. And
We
it
have a
depends,
Oh.
it's a lot of it's going to depend on the design of the eventual design of the homes. But we are trying to keep the frontage even or lined up on all the homes.
We have a motion to allow the encroachment of lot 10 or the house on lot 10. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Bruce Stephenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Vince Bradako,
Yes.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
John Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
And we have the same request for the home on lot number 12.
Number 12, the home will be halfway through the buffer. About 50% of the home would be halfway through the buffer. It'll still be at least 200 feet from any adjoining home, on any other property.
We have a motion regarding lot 12, or the home on lot 12.
I'll make a,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the house to go into the buffer zone.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the encroachment of the house on lot 12 into the 50-foot buffer. Roll call vote, please.
Bruce Sniffenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Vince Bordaka,
Yes.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
John Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
Next one is a variance to allow for flag-shaped parcel with a PRD approved in variance number. Okay, so this is another reapproval of something that's already been approved?
No, that's actually a new one.
No,
When we bought the lot, it was flagged, it has been split up by the previous owner 20, 25 years ago. And we bought it when we checked with the city at the time, I think Dick Mesner. And at the time, there was never a problem with it. I don't know if this is a city or a county, township or a county.
this is township, and the
Township,
flag,
okay.
the flag shape came in under conditional uses. So
Okay.
it was never approved. So I wanted to make sure it got approved on that.
Okay.
So then this is a conditional permit as opposed to a variance, or?
It's not a, yeah, it should be labeled as a conditional use for it, the flag shaped lot.
Okay.
Which lot is that?
Number 8.
Lot 8.
Okay.
It would be right next to that open space?
Correct. But you can see the pole portion going down there. Right next to the open space.
About this, or any other comments? Okay, do we have a motion regarding a conditional permit to allow the flag lot? There is enough land there for the driveway and so forth?
Pardon?
There will be enough land for the driveway and so
Yes,
forth?
yes. The home across from it, we have an easement to cut into their lot, which they signed when they bought the house.
I'll make a motion that we approve the variance for the flag shaped lot.
Conditional permit.
Conditional permit, sorry.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve a conditionally permit a flag-shaped lot, and that is lot 8. Roll call vote, please.
Bruce Sniffenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Vince Bordaka,
Yes.
Ed Shooty,
Yes.
John Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
I have for applications. Is there anything else, or it's the only ones I see?
That was it.
That's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Except for the service station we want to put on the corner.
Don't go
Just
there.
kidding.
Is it in the town center?
Not in the town center, but we can extend the awning if you want.
Yeah, okay.
Back with our zoning inspector, and they'll issue all of the appropriate paperwork, so you can
That's
take it
right.
to the county.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. And I'm done.
That's everything on the agenda unless I'm missing something. Which brings us now to the good of the order, which would involve electing Scott as the president.
Wrong. Wrong.
I'll second that motion.
I shut up.
All right, do we have any motions for president? Or any nominations for president?
I nominate Bruce.
I second it.
Okay, do we have any other nominations? Okay, we'll close nominations. Roll call vote, please.
Bruce Nippenberg,
I'll abstain.
Scott Etling,
Most definitely, yes.
Vince Brodacco,
Definitely yes.
Ed Judy,
Yes.
Tom Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Patrick.
Yes.
Okay, now open nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Scott.
Scott? Okay, we have a nomination for Scott. I'll second Scott. Ed'll be happy.
I was gonna say, I didn't even know Ed was this year or not.
I had to do like the first.
That's right, first meeting or so.
Yeah, I missed January, and then you had run.
That's what happens.
Okay, we have a nomination for Scott Etling. Do we have any other nominations?
Already served. Let somebody else do it.
Okay, we'll close nominations. We have a roll call vote, please.
Bruce Nippenberg,
Yes.
Vince Brodacco,
Yes.
Ed Judy,
Yes.
Tom Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Patrick.
Yes.
Good job, Scott.
Thanks.
Hey, congratulations.
I'll get you next year.
Your pay
I make
raise
sure I
will be
came this
reflected in your next check.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, do we have anything else for the good of the order? Okay, there being nothing extra, we need to set the next meeting for February 17th, 2021. Do we have anything to come to the meeting next month yet?
Yes.
Okay,
We have the nursing home that was 43 in Malloy, and they were stopped because of COVID. Their engineering firm and architecture firm had stopped work, and their attorney reached out to us with new drawings. It's very similar to what they got approved last time, which they had an extension back in the fall, but they did revise some of the drawings, so they didn't need to go back to you guys for those changes. Still looks like a great building, just some minor changes and tweaking the angle of the building is from what I see right now.
Is this a new application? Is this a new application, or did they redo it?
So they're putting new, it's a new application because they're redoing the drawings. You know, they want to get started as well this year with that project. And then there's a couple other things right now that are coming on the agenda. Don't have all the full applications. We have a variance back in Portage Commons, very similar to the one on Selnick. When the zoning changed, some of these properties, it's a 1 acre minimum, and it's at 0.92, I believe, acres in Portage Commons. So it's a technicality when we changed the zoning back then that these have to get variances for those lots that weren't sold at the time.
Easy peasy.
so we will have a meeting in February on the 17th. Do we have any other, the only thing else would be looking for one more motion.
Go for it, Vince.
What's that?
Just go for it, Vince.
Oh, you gonna let Vince move?
I do.
I guess that's a motion to.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I do too.
Okay, we have a motion
Hey,
and an I do
everybody.
too to adjourn.
That was an
Have a
epic
good
fail.
We have a roll call vote, please.
Bruce Nippenberg,
Yes.
Scott Etling,
Yes.
Vince Brodacco,
Yes.
Ed Shooting,
Yes.
John Phillips,
Yes.
and Clayton Popick.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, good
meeting's
one.
adjourned.